Hey everyone, Mask here. In today's video, we're going to do a devlog of my project where I added boss functions and endings among other things. I'll show you everything I've developed recently, and there's a lot of cool new stuff that might inspire your game. So, stay until the end of the video, and if you enjoy it, give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. This here is one of the maps that will be in the game. I won't give too many spoilers about the story, but you can already get an idea of what it is, of the mood and setting I want to use here. This atmosphere is going to be really good. From the first time I saw this map, I wanted to use it in some game. This part starts off quite dark. Let's move forward. I'll show a little more of the map's details. Look at the textures, look at the lighting work. This here is a demo map available in the Epic Games Store. But I've already made some modifications here, and I still have a lot to modify, but you can already get an idea of the quality. I think I definitely won't be working with MetaHuman in this project, as I'm noticeably noticing a significant drop in FPS. Click on. By pressing the F5 key, the map is rendered, showing the main points that are demanding more from the graphics card. The more red, the larger it is, the better the performance. And here it becomes clear where the biggest FPS problem I'm facing in this map is. Right, it's the character itself. An enemy has already come to attack. Here there are some water effects, which are not very visible on the map, since it is quite dark. But there are also some points with lighting there that are presenting problems. When they are small, for example, these torches here, it doesn't make much difference, but when it's large, like my character, completely dark, it makes a big difference. Pressing the F3 key, you return to the normal texturing of the map. Here, I can already show the equipment system. This here is one of the bugs that still exist in the game. Actually, it didn't exist before, but with some modification I made, the enemies are now attacking ghosts. They are certainly having challenges moving around the map, and indeed, they are attacking into nothing, even though the AI is programmed to always approach the player before attacking. So I need to make some adjustments in this area. Look how cool the lighting is here. Even though it's a cave with a solar opening, it gives a really nice effect. Now I'm going to show a little bit of the equipment section, which includes various tools and items necessary for gameplay. I made this hotbar down here, which is in the bottom left corner of the screen, to help players quickly access their most used items. I had changed this bleeding system to improve the overall gaming experience by making it more realistic and challenging. Here as well. It's very bright on this map, I think, because of the lighting. But before, the effect was different. There were, like, explosions, some shine effects. Then I added a little bit more of this liquid effect. Here on the hotbar, by pressing 1, 2, or 3, it simply automatically selects the equipment. And in my setup, the way I set it up, the item actor component ensures the character always starts with some combat style. Melee and unarmed combat. And also for enemies, I can select precisely the amount of liquid that will come out. So if I'm going to make a map, a game, a little less violent, the amount can be smaller or even 0. It can be replaced with something else. And if it's a game where I want to convey a slightly more horror-like feeling, I add a bit more of this type of liquid output. By pressing 1, it will equip the first item. There. I'm still having difficulty when I use other characters, where the position of the equipment doesn't fit correctly in their hand. Each character, for example, has a metahuman, which is this one here. So if I place another metahuman in its place, it will be in the correct position for the items. But if I place a character from Avatar, for example, it will already be incorrect. So this is one of the problems I'm facing. Let's move on to the pistol. The pistol, I've already set it up with the option to load the laser and load the flashlight. For this one here, I configured it just to load the laser. But there's an option there that I can enable, and it will load the flashlight as well every time I equip it. And I added a slightly different unequip function. He holds the weapon in a different way instead of storing the weapon. I based it on Resident Evil. In fact, I'm going to do something with that map I mentioned. In the other game, not in the other game, in the other video. And the position was exactly because of that. Since I want to do something similar to Resident Evil there, so I made the character's hand. I changed the available animations to set it up that way. I also made this little laser here. And I just made this little dot. It still has a bug. It should, from the start, already mark where the laser is hitting to show this additional dot. But for some reason, when I start, the dot doesn't appear. Only after the first shot. After the first shot, it appears normally. They're kind of stuck, so whenever they take an attack, they change position and we do something else here. The flashlight function turned out really cool. I really like this flashlight. It turned out very well. Then by pressing the key, I set it to the L key. It turns the flashlight on and off. And the laser is on the O key. It turns the laser on and off. Another function that I added is the finishing move function. So we can approach from behind in a strategic manner, for example, the enemy. And I made it a little different. Normally, we see that the character approaches, performs the finishing move. A weapon appears in his hand, and he executes it. I wanted to create the whole system of unequipping and equipping. So, if I execute here, he will unequip this weapon. Grab the knife, then he performs the finishing move. It takes a little more time, but he executes it more coherently, I would say. Look at the difference in the map without the flashlight. So I really want to create this atmosphere. I've already darkened it here intentionally on purpose to make it difficult to see. But I even had another idea. Maybe make a separate flashlight to be held in the character's left hand, so he can walk around with just the flashlight. Instead of having to keep pointing the weapon all the time. That's a bit annoying. It affects the dynamics of navigating the map. I'll add a few more rocks to cover all the spots. Let's do one more finishing touch up here. It's looking nice with the solar lighting part. These are the cool reflections. And several points here on the map. You can't see it now because it's in game mode, but for example there, where I shot there, here, there are some lights called refraction lights. So they are not direct lights like this solar light here. They capture the reflection of the map's lighting and reflect it to some point on the map. For example, there, do you see? There, I left it to make it a bit easier to show. There's no light hitting there. It's something reflecting to illuminate that point. That's all. Level modeling technique. Map modeling. We keep improving that. Over time, that's why I often insist, if you don't know how to do something, don't get stuck on it for too long, thinking your game will be stuck because of it. You don't need to be stuck on these parts. You can use what's already available to let your idea flow, otherwise you'll waste a lot of time on something that suddenly isn't your focus, isn't what you want. With this finishing system, you can already make several games. I'm sure it already comes to your mind. A Hitman, Horizon Zero Dawn, has this. What else? I can't remember right now. Approach. Finished. Looks cool, right? I used a technique called motion warping. To make this finishing move, which consists of moving two animations at the same time, it moves my character, moves the other character, but motion warping tries to align as best as possible the skeletal structure of both characters so that the movements are more fluid and happen more naturally. The candle lighting here, even the candles have special lighting. What I find really cool about starting your creation from already ready-made maps is that the ambiance is already created. And ambiance is a very artistic thing. It's not just something you do any which way. Ambiance is a very important part of your game, and it will practically define whether your map is good or bad, or whether it's fun or not to play. So when you go to build, if you think you don't have much talent for this kind of thing, hire someone who does. 3D artists are still extremely important. Even with all these AI technologies, which I myself bring here on the channel and in other videos, they do not replace the technical quality of a creator, of an artist. And these small details for someone who is very technical are difficult to think about. We don't usually look at this here. It's very easy for me to take this here, which is ready, and put it over there. But for the artist thinking about this here, he has his experience, the study, the skill. So you have to focus on what you have more skill in. I think that with this, you will be able to have more fun, achieve a certain success within what you have as a perspective. Man, this map is incredible. From the first day I saw this map, I felt like playing something here. I have various other assets to place here, like skulls, bone structures, and different types of bones. It's going to look really cool. Look at this type of stone structure here. It looks like a pile of stones thrown together. But if you stop to think about what can be done, you can make a small entrance here. Look at the ambiance. Just listen to the cave's drips and gentle echoes. It could be some kind of room with a reward, or perhaps a prize. Some secret enemy, something like that. And moving around down here without a flashlight is impossible. You can't see absolutely anything, just the laser. And it looks really cool too. Let's continue. I still have one more thing to show you. I did something different here. Let's go, we're almost there. This would be a boss room. We're probably about to find him up ahead. Look, I added this special HP bar for the boss, and it looks really cool, impressive, and detailed. And there's also a special bar right below. Therefore, when I want to do something different, add some kind of special to the boss, then I'll adjust with this bar. I also added this music. And the way I do the constructions, they don't stay fixed. In other words, this is a normal character. I just increased his size. And I have a flag that I set to indicate if he is a boss or not. If I set the boss flag, he will use a different HUD that will display on the player's screen, which are these two bars, and the name for now. And there's also another field where you select them. So, whenever I watch tutorials, it's very common. They use a fixed music, like a fixed name, fixed bars, and it's always fixed things. I always think about building things dynamically, because if I build it dynamically once, I can use it in all games or in various games and just make some adaptations so that it is more suitable for the map, more inherent to the content. Look at his hand holding the sword. That's what I mean. When the character's skeleton changes, even if the animation is the same, the equipment slot is the same. It doesn't fit perfectly, slightly. And that's a problem that needs to be adjusted. I have some ideas for a system of items in the characters and enemies' own blueprint. And in this way, I think I'll be able to adjust it a bit better. Something I don't have at this moment, here I can only adjust by slot. But if I place a meta-human enemy here, its slot already fits differently. This is due to the animations. Even if I have the same animation and do the same rigging and retagging process, it doesn't look the same for all the off models. And it gives this kind of difference here, which is very important. Very problematic. When it's misaligned, you end up losing immersion in the situation. I just realized one of the bug problems, which is the phantom attack. I noticed that the player's location to the enemy is not updating, it only updates after I execute an attack. As soon as I execute, the enemy immediately changes location. Cool. I already have an idea of what I need to do. Let's finish. To finish, indeed, ultimately the music will end. The music already stops. I believe the ideal would be to add some other type of victory music or music ambience, something like that. You can see that there is no ambient music playing on the map. This kind of thing you can configure on the map itself, what its ambience is. We've reached the end of this map. I'm still going to change a lot here. I also want to make this map much bigger. I improved some optimization aspects to reduce the load on the GPU and increase FPS. But there are still some things I want to tweak here, especially since there are other things I want to add. They need to be added without a major impact. Tell me, what did you think of this map? What did you think of the new features? If you have ideas for features, ideas for interesting things, questions you want to know about how I built, some way to do, for example, that finishing touch, how I made the laser, some tutorials. I haven't brought them yet because I am modifying some things. So, the laser itself. I made the laser. Well, so I already know how to make a laser. Okay, but what else can be done with the laser? Oh, you can add a little ball when it hits an object. I have the flashlight. It's hard to see clearly. You can add a little ball. This little ball makes it very easy to identify where the shot will hit, for example. And when we're like this on a wall that I can't see, the other side, it's perfect. There's nothing to do. But when I pass through an object, and I can see on the other side, the laser is still there. It's A little hard to see. Let me see if I can get a better view here. Look at the laser there. If it's hitting the object, why is it passing through? So these small details that we correct over time, as well as the bugs, the animations, you have to build your foundation and continue from there. If you always spend too much time stuck on one issue, you feel like you're not progressing and that your game isn't progressing, and you end up getting discouraged. Often it's better to move on to something else and then come back to it and solve the problem. Especially because the more you advance, the more experience you will have, and it will become easier for you to solve these kinds of problems. So I already have in mind how I solve so that this line doesn't cross the object after identifying the point. But there's so much to tweak in the game, even in these mechanics, to refine these mechanics, that sometimes I choose not to spend too much time on the same function. And once it's ready, once it's perfect, the way I understand it to be perfect, then I make tutorial about it. I find it actually funny that Unreal's ragdolls keep moving even after being deactivated. And the more you poke at it, the more it moves again. That's it today.
If you like this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment below what you thought and have a great day.